English objective questions can sometimes be very difficult to answer, especially if you've been unable to prepare adequately towards your paper. Today in this video, I will reveal to you the secret in answering objective questions in the English language paper with ease. But first, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out anytime I upload a new video. I will put out a bonus tip towards the end of this video, so do stick around and watch this video till the end. It is no fluke that passing any examination, and not just the Wassce exams, requires one to prepare and learn adequately towards it. Life is not a tabula rasa. You don't just pass your exams without learning or without giving much time to your books, except of course you are bracing yourself to cheat in the exams hall, of which I don't approve. What I approve of is that you make some considerable efforts in studying key areas in the English language subject, and then we can apply these guidelines to confidently answer and pass our exams. In order not to be found wanting in the exam room, you need to take note of the following. Number 1. Prepare adequately towards the entire English paper. Preparation is key if you want to pass your English objective test. You don't necessarily have to burn the candle in the night and still stay out during the day learning. What you need is a small commitment from yourself to be able to learn at the right time and place. By preparation, I mean practicing objective past questions. Answer as much English objective past questions as you can. Do not underestimate the habit of answering past questions. You may be shocked to find similar questions, if not the same questions, recycled into new questions. Just get your third eye to remind you that you've answered a similar question before. In your preparation, you need to at least learn. What would happen if you are asked in the English objective test to suggest the meaning of the idiomatic expression to hit the hay, or it takes two to tango? Unless of course you've probably read around idiomatic expressions, all these will look new to you and sometimes very confusing for you to be able to answer. So you realize that studying is key, but you don't just study any topic. You have to study just some few key topics for the objective test. This brings me to the second point. Number 2. Planning. Success in whatever you do largely boils down to your plan. In your English objective test as well, you must have a plan of how you will answer the paper. You can't plan if you don't know the structure of the English language objective test. So briefly, let's take a look at the structure of the English language objective paper. You can as well tap on the link in the description box below to get access to the structure of the entire English language objective paper in detail. The English language objective test has two parts, Part A and Part B. Now Part A has 5 sections and they contain the lexis and structure questions. They are as follows. Section I contains questions on antonyms. Section II contains questions on best complete sentences. Section III contains questions on synonyms. Section IV contains interpretation of sentences. Section V contains questions on mechanics, that is, questions on registers, or what we usually call numbered gaps. In Part B, you will answer objective questions on the selected literature books. Planning requires that you know what you are about when answering your objective paper. Now in Part B, there are objective questions on prose, drama and poetry. For each genre of literature, there are a set of questions you are required to answer. There are 2 sets, a set of 10 questions on an African prose, 10 questions on African prose, of which you are required to answer just 1 set. The same applies to the drama part, 10 questions on African drama, 10 questions on an African drama, and you are required to answer 1 set. Don't get confused if you find same numberings for questions under African and an African prose or drama. It means you have to answer just 1 set. Either you choose to answer questions on the African prose, drama and poetry, or you answer questions on the non-African. So in your plan to score high marks in the objective test, you must decide which questions in Part B you would like to answer, whether the African or the non-African. This is to save you time in answering your questions, as you may be caught up in making tough decisions whether to answer a particular set or not. Make these decisions as you prepare for your exams. Having said all these, Let's now look at how to answer the English language objective test proper. Tip number 1. Read the instructions very well. This may not sound new to you, as you probably would have heard this from your teachers several times. If you are listening to this again, it is an important reminder. Instructions on each section of the Wassce objective test should be read and understood before proceeding to answer any question. If there is an instruction you don't understand, feel free to draw the attention of the invigilator before answering the question. Trust me, it will do you a lot of good. Knowing what each section in the objective test requires is the first step in passing your English objective test. Tip number 2. Find synonyms to the alternative answers provided for each question in the English language objective test. In answering your objective test, the alternatives provided may at times be very close in meaning. To get a distinction, provide synonyms to the alternatives for each question. By doing this, you expand your understanding on most of the alternatives and make it easy for yourself to match up the main words in the question to the correct answer among the alternatives. Let's take a look at the following questions from the NOVDEC 2022 objective test. We are to find a word that is most nearly opposite in meaning to the underlying word in the question. Jifa failed the interview because she dressed casually when she should have dressed dash. A. Formally. B. Gorgeously. C. Neatly. D. Smartly. The main word in this question is casually, and we are to fetch out a word most nearly opposite in meaning to it among the alternatives. What we have to do is to first try to find synonyms to the main word in the sentence as well as the alternatives. When you brainstorm and try to look out for the meaning of casual, you realize that dressing casually suggests to us one who dresses up with home clothes, unofficially, or one who dresses without any form of restriction. In the alternatives provided, the synonym for formally means official, gorgeous means beautiful, neatly means cleanly, smartly means intelligently. After finding the synonyms to all these words, we get to understand the options better and put ourselves in a better position to answer the question. Casually will be the opposite of formally after careful analysis. Let's take a look at the next question in this same paper. Virtuous people steer clear dash acts. A. Virtuous people steer clear callous acts. B. Virtuous people steer clear envious acts. C. Virtuous people steer clear malicious acts. D. Virtuous people steer clear suspicious acts. Now, you don't necessarily need to know the meaning of all the alternatives in order to be able to answer. Sometimes, if you know just 3 out of the 4 words provided as the alternatives, you are good to go. So let's assume you don't know the meaning of callous, but you know that envious has something to do with jealousy, malicious has something to do with bad stuff or harmful stuff, and suspicious has something to do with the lack of trust. Virtuous, our main word in the sentence, can be thought of as a word related to good morals, good ethics, or righteousness. Now, when we take a look at these 3 alternatives with the 4th one as a standby, we realize that the only word that seems to have a relationship with the main word virtuous in the sentence is malicious. If virtuous means being good, then you can confidently bet on the word malicious, which means bad, as the opposite of virtuous, without necessarily knowing the meaning or synonyms of all the 4 alternatives. Let's take a look at some other questions from the NOVDEC 2022 paper on nearest in meaning. The World Health Organization has projected a remarkable increase in world population. A. The World Health Organization has forecast a remarkable increase in world population. B. The World Health Organization has planned a remarkable increase in world population. C. The World Health Organization has promised a remarkable increase in world population. D. The World Health Organization has suggested a remarkable increase in world population. Like I said earlier, with these kind of questions, we have to first provide some synonyms to the alternatives to aid us answer the question. Forecast means to predict. It looks pretty obvious, right? Plan means to plot something or to organize. Promise means assurance of something or giving your word whenever you say something. To suggest means to recommend. Among these four alternatives, only forecast and planned seem to relate well with the main word projected in the sentence. A word like projected, given the context in which it is used, suggests a prediction of an event in the future. Therefore, the nearest in meaning from the given alternatives to the word projected is forecast. In the next question, we have her reverence for her father was obvious. A. Her deep for her father was obvious. C. Her great respect for her father was obvious. C. Her love for her father was obvious. D. Her pity for her father was obvious. Reverence comes from the word revere, which means respect. Of course, option C, which is love, to a larger extent, may connote reverence. But in this context, respect fits in well with the underlying word reverence in the question. 10 questions each are set by waec on most nearly opposite in meaning and nearest in meaning. Answering these section of questions will always require that you try to figure out the meaning of the possible answers, or better still, search through your mind for synonyms to the provided alternatives. This naturally expands your horizon or your understanding on the entire question and puts you in a better position to answer the questions correctly. There may be moments when you just can't seem to get your way around a particular question. Probably you are so unfamiliar with the words provided that you are unable to answer. In such a situation, you should trust your guts on whichever answer your brain suggests to you. Please ensure that English objective questions you will solve in this manner are just few. If you find yourself answering English objective questions in this manner all the time, or you are not just sure about your answers, then it means probably you didn't prepare well enough for the paper. Preparation, like I said earlier, is key if you'd want to pass your English objective test. Therefore, to be able to answer questions on synonyms and antonyms, you need to be curious about the meaning of words used in everyday conversations that you don't understand. Read books to improve your comprehension and vocabulary. Look up words you don't understand in a dictionary when you listen to the news, or when you read books, magazines, and newspapers. You accumulate new set of vocabulary in your memory bank, and this makes your attempts on synonym and antonym questions much easier. Now here's a bonus tip when answering English objective questions. Don't waste a minute of your time in answering each question in your English language objective test. Yes, you heard me right. Do not delay in answering just one question, because time is the greatest and most valuable resource in the exams room. When you attempt a question and it happens that you are unable to provide an answer to it immediately, skip the question and move on to the next. Answer those objective questions you can answer with ease first, and if possible, move on to the theory or written aspect of the English language paper before attending to the unanswered objective questions. Doing this saves you much time to think and crack your brains for answers. At this moment, you will feel no pressure and you will feel comfortable brainstorming on the unanswered questions, because you know that you've answered the questions you can best answer with ease already. Therefore, answering objective questions you understand and can answer well is the best way of answering English objective questions in an examination. Tip number 3. Figurative languages such as idioms should be studied very well ahead of any English language objective test. There is a section in the English language objective paper that requires candidates to choose the interpretation for sentences they consider most appropriate. This section contains 10 questions, and so decent understanding of idiomatic expressions can put you in the firm position of scoring all the marks in this section. Now, make sure that after studying English language anytime, you glance through a set of idioms, not necessarily to commit them into memory immediately, but then to familiarize yourself with them. Other times, proverbs or any figurative expression that requires deeper level of understanding and interpretation may be presented to you. It is up to you to understand the context of the question and answer the question accordingly. So for instance, in the NOVDEC 2022 English paper, this was asked: the children's choir stole the show at the concert. This means that the children's choir A. attracted the most attention and praise, B. brought in more patrons to the show, C. distracted other performers at the concert, D. diverted their attention from the program. After a careful look at the question and the alternatives provided in the answer section, we realized that the children's choir stealing the whole show meant that they attracted the most attention and praise. The final tip in helping you best answer English objective questions is to improve your ability in answering questions on numbered gaps. Questions on numbered gaps are preceded by a passage with missing words relevant to a specific human activity. Since you are not usually told which human activity will have the question set on, you are advised to read wide and understand terms relating to different fields. The passage may be on transport, it may be on business, tourism, governance, just name them. The task is up to you to familiarize yourself with terms associated with different fields. The questions become very easy if that is done. Watching the news, reading newspapers, articles and magazines may be of great help in helping you answer questions on numbered gaps. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this helps. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel once again.